Coming up on Mornings on the Hill, we have an update on campus security.
A vigil is being held tonight at Hendricks Chapel following the events on campus over the last few weeks.
And find out why some students travel to Brooklyn over break.
All that plus your weather and orange sports coming up on this edition of Mornings on the Hill.
Good morning, Syracuse. I'm Shoshana Stahl.
And I'm Michelle Konezvik. Thanks for joining us on Mornings on the Hill.
The Not Again SU movement shook the campus before Thanksgiving break.
Our own Morgan Trout is live to tell us how students feel being back on campus and what changes have been made to make them feel safe.
Thanks, guys. Students are back on campus after fall break, but tension is still high for those who believe the university has not put in the effort to make them feel safe. Chancellor Kent Severud sent out a new safety plan that was supposed to be implemented over the break, but some students believe he did not live up to his goals.
Until that person's caught, or the people are caught, or the perpetrators are caught, I'm not going to feel safe.
Senior Joanne Lee says she does not think that Syracuse University has done enough during the fall break to remedy the racial bias incidents that occurred in mid-November. She's not the only student to feel that way.
Thought that there were going to be a little bit more changes, and it really seems like it's kind of the same as it was before break.
The changes senior Stephen Koenig is referring to were sent out by Chancellor Kent Severud over the Thanksgiving holiday, stating there would be increased DPS officers, more security cameras, and longer officer work shifts. Freshman Emily Karp lives in Lawrence and Hall, where she said the university did not follow through.
They haven't installed any, and they only have them in the lobby, and it's still very controversial because they want it to be a homey feel, but it's like the intersection of like hominess and being safe.
The only new camera students seem to be talking about is the one in the elevator of Day Hall, which is where the original incident occurred.
Think about all the other students of color who are not freshmen, who are not living in Day, who are scared for their lives, who are not affected by these cameras.
The administration says the process of adding cameras will be ongoing throughout the year, which has grad student Darren Wallace feeling optimistic about the future of Syracuse University's safety.
I appreciate the steps that we're taking. I don't know if it's enough yet, but I think that it's definitely it's a step in the right direction, and I support it.
DPS Chief Bobby Maldonado issued a statement explaining how SU will be moving forward with safety communications, which was a main concern of the student protesters. The crime log shows that there were 4 bias-related incidents before the Day Hall vandalism, none of which were reported by DPS. A new website is now in place where officers will report all incidents on campus. If someone needs to report a crime, they have a form linked on their website. I will keep you updated on any changes to SU security. Back to you.
Thanks, Morgan. And with the current campus climate in mind, a vigil for peace will be held later today. Students, along with faculty and staff, will come together on the steps of Hendricks Chapel. That's where our reporter Alexa Roth is standing by live with more. Alexa?
Thanks, guys. The community is looking to overcome fear and hate after recent events here on Syracuse's campus. Hendricks Chapel will be holding a community peace vigil tonight for healing and hope. Students, faculty members, and staff will gather tonight in Hendricks after the racist events over the past few weeks on SU's campus. Religious advisors as well as spiritual leaders will be in attendance. There will also be a candle lighting and a student musical performance. Following the vigil, there will be a gathering in Hendricks Chapel's Noble Room to talk about community building and support. The Not Again SU protests ended with Chancellor Severud's signing of 16 of the 19 demands made by students. I'm Alexa Roth from Mornings on the Hill. Back to you guys in the studio.
The Center for Learning and Student Success class is offering extra support as we head into the final weeks of the semester. Class is running drop-in tutoring sessions for statistics and biology classes. It's also holding citation workshops for all those final papers we know you have. All these events are today and tomorrow in the basement of Byrd Library. Check myt.syr.edu for times to register and for extra help.
And if you're in debt to the library, there's a new way to pay off your fines while doing good. Syracuse University Libraries kicked off its Food for Fines event this week. Libraries are accepting healthy, non-perishable food donations in exchange for reduced fines, $1 for each item, until the end of the semester. Syracuse Library Supervisor Nick Olivieri says that the drive is a good way to make a positive out of a negative.
Great program because it gives them a way to do something useful with that food that they bought and never used, and it goes to a good cause, and it allows them to get a little something back for it also.
And with the season of giving upon us, many students here at SU have taken charge to raise money for causes and organizations important to them. Camp Kesem, a free summer camp for children whose parents are affected by cancer, is one such organization.
It's Giving Tuesday, and I am raising money for Camp Kesem at Syracuse University.
Camp Kesem is run entirely by local college students who raise donations themselves. Christian Kabatu is a senior studying abroad in London, but made the pledge to cut his hair if he raised $750 to Camp Kesem. Less than 24 hours after he posted this pledge, look at his hair now. So far, Christian has raised over $1,100. To donate, head to donate.kesem.org.
The registrar's office has extended the withdrawal deadline. If you're struggling in a class and you want to drop it, you can until Friday at 5 p.m. You need a hard copy of forms from your home college's advising office and a handful of signatures to complete the process. For additional help, speak with your advisor or visit an advising office.
This week is your last chance to get your senior yearbook portraits taken. Portrait sittings are free for seniors and graduate students. Photographers take your picture in business casual attire and with the official cap and gown. Check your SYR email for more information on signing up for a time slot. An alumni and former Bachelor star returned to campus to give students an insight on her life and advice for their future career.
Our Dana Casulo and Cheyenne Obrega are live in studio for a recap of the event.
Thanks. Ashley Incanetti appeared on season 19 of The Bachelor with Chris Soules and season 2 and 3 of Bachelor in Paradise and the first Bachelor Winter Games. She earned a master's degree in broadcast and digital journalism from Newhouse. She is now a correspondent for Access Hollywood and a host on Clever TV and Clever TV News.
She applied to The Bachelor during her capstone internship at the end of her master's program in the summer of 2013. And something funny that she did mention was she didn't hear back until a year later on April Fool's Day. And she said a lot of her family and friends didn't really believe it, but can you blame them? She also talked a lot about myths and things about The Bachelor that people hear, whether they're true or not.
And she talked a lot about how people always say, oh, is the show scripted? And she said it's not scripted at all, but they do try to provoke emotions within the people. For example, with her, they would always bring up her dog that passed away out of nowhere.
That's so bizarre to me. And she also said that, because it's so real, there are some things she said on some seasons that she does regret, but in the end, she was pretty wholesome, and she's like, you know what, I threw it out on the table. I really do have no regrets, although, some things she said she just wasn't quite proud of. But I think that's what makes her so cool. She's real, she's wholesome and organic.
She's very relatable, and I think that's why a lot of people were drawn to her, because she just says how she feels.
Oh, absolutely.
And another topic that she talked about was the food. A lot of people were interested if people act like why they don't eat the food when they're on the show. And she said she ate the food, and I love that about her. She said, I love the food, but some people, they tell them it doesn't look great on camera when they're eating the food.
And also she wants people to know that they do eat on the show. They actually feed you prior to the date, which I thought was kind of funny, because it's like, why are you going on a dinner date if you're eating dinner before? But she definitely dove into a lot of those myths. I mean, you hear on different websites what's real and what's not, and you really don't know until you hear from a bachelor or a bachelorette's mouth. And that was kind of cool to hear her experience on the show and what it's like to go on a reality show where you might find the love of your life.
Yeah, just like she did. But she also gave tips to students. She said for her, networking was key. Whenever she meets someone, she always sends them an email and she just says, thanks so much for talking to me. If you have any openings for anything, please let me know.
Yeah, and that's really important because as students, networking is so key in this business. And I'm not gonna lie, I sometimes feel awkward going up to someone and asking for an email, but she said, you need to do that. You need to go up and make that ask, because if you don't, what do you have to lose? The worst thing is that they're going to say, oh no, not today. But she said a lot of her career right now has come from asking and networking and getting emails from people.
She definitely said to be bold with that. But you could check out Ashley's podcast, the Ben and Ashley Almost Famous podcast with former Bachelor Ben Higgins. For Mornings on the Hill, I'm Dana Casulo.
And I'm Cheyenne Obrega.
And it's Time to check your weather for today.
Jillian Andrews is live out on University Ave to tell us what to expect. Jill?
Good morning, everyone. It is another winter wonderland here in Syracuse. Temperatures this morning were in the upper 20s, lower 30s. It was really a chilly start. However, it has warmed up since then. We are now about 35 degrees, and it will climb a little bit and cool back down later tonight. There's also some snow in the future. Some flurries have already started, but the snow is not going to really pick up until later this evening. We're going to have a 60% chance of snow at that point. So bring your jacket and stay warm. We'll have more on weather coming up later in the newscast. Back to you guys at the desk.
And coming up here on Mornings on the Hill, find out why some student journalists travel to Brooklyn over break.
Also coming up, the cold weather doesn't mean you need to stay inside. Find out what popular winter sport you can participate
in. In 1995, a small distinction was given to a ski hill near campus. Alexandra Jennerjohn shares how years later, this business continues to find success.
With finals week around the corner, students are seeking something to do to give them a break from studying. And one small business provides a variety of winter activities and is just a few minutes from our campus.
Worst thing you want is a chair breaking on you and, falling.
At Four Seasons Golf and Ski in Fayetteville, operations manager Bill Hain is tasked with maintaining a small but busy operation. With the first snow making landfall here in central New York, 'tis this season for ski locations to finalize preparations for their guests.
Over the course of the season, we get a fair number. I mean, certainly we're not doing 10,000 or anything like that. The big resorts up in the West Coast, they're probably doing 10,000 a day in some cases, so.
25 years ago, Four Seasons was named the smallest ski location in the country. With only one ski lift, you can see how that might be true. But with that distinction comes the responsibility of finding more ways to generate revenue.
About 2001, we added the batting cages, so we have added things over the years and improved things.
In an effort to keep money coming in year-round, Four Seasons has also added a mini golf course and a golf driving range. Because this location is so small, it's a great place for newcomers to the sport to find their balance.
For us, our core skiers are beginners, between 5 and 12 years old that have never skied before.
And for parents, it serves almost as a daycare.
It's close. They can bring their kids. A lot of times they'll drop them off and maybe they'll go down to Target or something, shop for an hour and come back and pick them up.
Although the distinction as smallest ski location could seem bad for business, Four Seasons is a place that thrives thanks to its community feel.
A few of our residents up there.
Four Seasons is open for business now and has ski and snowboard equipment available for purchase and rent. For Mornings on the Hill, I'm Alexandra Jennerjohn.
Thanks, Allie. Students at Syracuse who are a part of news outlets get chances to travel to different places around the country to cover these nationally televised sporting events. Over Thanksgiving break, a handful of Syracuse students got to travel to Brooklyn to cover the NIT TIP tournament.
Broadcast journalism graduate student Nia Gibson had a chance to travel to New York City for the tournament. When asked what her favorite part of the experience was, the answer was a no-brainer.
Definitely the seats. They were pretty nice, great view, and just honestly learning more. You learn a lot being with this stuff.
Perfect. Gibson had a chance to cover Syracuse basketball games at the Dome, but this experience was like no other. Being able to cover her school at a nationally televised event in New York City.
It was so cool because I've never been in that type of setting. Yeah, sure, I'm in the Dome from time to time, but to be in a spot where, like the Barclays Center, where a bunch of sporting events happen, you get to really see like the media lounge, you get to interact with other people, you kind of get to see a nice little real world experience.
As a student, if covering the event wasn't enough, it is the connections in the real-world experiences that they take away with them as they continue school. Gibson told me that even just having a small conversation with someone in the business can help her in her everyday life.
Kind of like what you said, networking and talking to people and asking for advice, because a little does go a long way. So the smallest thing that someone would tell me, I apply it to my everyday life or my craft, and it does like help improve me like immensely.
Students can join these media groups and can attend these different events, but do not even have to be Newhouse students.
Now, from students covering the games to the ones playing in them, sports anchor Alex Peeble has your full Orange sports update.
Thank you, Shoshana. Good morning. I'm Alex Peebles with your Orange Sports Update here on Mornings on the Hill. Syracuse football closed out the season on Saturday with a thrilling overtime victory over ACC opponent Wake Forest. The victory pushed the Orange to a 5-7 record this season, which was still miles short of expectations after coming off of a 10-win season in 2018. But the Orange finished on a good note, forcing a total of 5 turnovers defensively, including a forced fumble returned for a touchdown by Trill Williams in overtime to end the game. And the over-under for this game was set at 68. And I hope you didn't have the under, because that Trill Williams touchdown gave Cuse the 39-30 victory, pushing that combined point total to 69. Offensively for the Orange, senior Clayton Welch got the nod at quarterback this week and threw for 234 yards and 2 touchdowns, along with 2 interceptions. Now, we did see Tommy DeVito briefly in this one, who went for 2 for 3 for 27 yards. And leading the way in the backfield for Cuse was senior Mo Neal. He was just 2 yards shy of the century mark and added 1 touchdown in his last game wearing orange. Syracuse men's basketball, on the other hand, are on a 3-game skid after losing to Iowa in the Dome last night, 68-54. The Orange continue to struggle offensively, with only 2 players hitting double figures last night. Marek Dolezaj led the Orange with 12 points, and Elijah Hughes added just 10 points. Freshman guard Joe Girard III also struggled to find the bottom of the basket until the second half, finishing a game with just 6 points in the Orange loss. But it was not just one individual that struggled more than the rest, as the Orange as a whole shot only 36% from the field and were just 6 of 21 from 3. In the post-game press conference, Coach Boeheim said this is a young team, and the young guys are just not ready to compete against the top 50 teams in the country. But Syracuse's schedule isn't going to get any easier as they follow up the loss with 2 road games against Georgia Tech and Georgetown. Syracuse women's basketball fell to 4-3 after a heartbreaking loss to the Green Bay Phoenix in overtime, 79-73. But it wasn't all bad for the Orange, as freshman Emily Engsler recorded her 4th career double-double. Sophomore Digna Stratmani and redshirt sophomore Kiara Lewis led the Orange with 16 points apiece. The Orange looked to get back on track on the road with a win against number 24 team in the country, Michigan, on Thursday. And Syracuse volleyball finished out their season with a victory over ACC opponent Clemson last week. The Orange finished the season with a 12-13 overall record and a 9-9 in-conference record. Sophomore Paulina Shimanova secured first-team All-ACC honors for her 2nd consecutive year. And that's all for sports. Shoshana, Michelle, back to you.
Syracuse Libraries announced this week that it's planning a graduate student event series. It aims to provide grad students with resources to learn about research opportunities and funding for that research, even before graduation. As of right now, events are scheduled for February and March.
And tomorrow night, parts of Ernie Davis Hall will take you inside a neuroscientist and architect's brain. Neuroarchitecture Imaging, or NAI, is a video exhibit that uses the architecture of Ernie Davis Hall to show visitors how neuroscientists and architects can see and think with AI technology. The projections will show how the hall looked in the original renderings, so people can compare the model to the real thing.
And Eat and Tell has covered all the major dining halls here on campus, and we've tasted many different dishes, Cheyenne. But did you know that you can soon be eating recipes from your home?
Yep, that's right. You can now start submitting your own recipes from home to the dining halls, and they are going to work there really hard to try to get those recipes in the dining halls, which is really cool.
Okay, so this sounds awesome. So how does it work?
All right, so it's pretty simple. All you do is you go to the dining hall website, you click Recipes from Home link, and it takes you to this page. And what you basically do is you just fill out this simple form. You have to specify what kind of recipe it is, vegan, vegetarian, entree, dessert, anything like that. And you also state where you're sending this recipe from, and you can either submit a PDF file, a picture of it, or you can type it up right there. So it's pretty simple, just a few buttons, and you just fill out this simple form right here. And once you're done, you submit it, and there you go.
Okay, so if we have any potential chefs watching right now, what are some restrictions maybe that they have, or any things that they need to follow when submitting specific recipes?
Yes, so there are a few restrictions and things you have to keep in mind when submitting a recipe. One, no peanuts or tree nuts, because they actually don't carry that in any of the dining halls because it's such a common allergy for students. They also say to keep an eye out for hard ingredients to get. You know, if it's kind of difficult or expensive, you know, that could be a little issue for it. You also kind of want to make sure that it can be cooked in bulk. You know, the dining halls serve over 1,000 meals a day to students, so sending in a recipe that only suits like, you know, 10 to 20 students, that's not really super helpful for the dining services.
Exactly. So we know that there's a lot of chefs watching right now. People are eager to submit their recipes. What happens once you submit a recipe, and how do you know if your dish is going to be served in one of the dining halls?
Yeah, so once you submit your recipe on here, it goes to a menu committee. And what they do is they overview the recipe. They're trying to see if it's even possible. Like I said, the ingredients. They have to see if they have the ingredients, and if not, then they're gonna send it to one of their agents to see if it can be ordered.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're also gonna just see if it can be made, like I said, portion size and method size. Methods. They wanna make sure that they can cook it properly and not alter the recipes too much. As authentic as possible. But you know, if they have to alter it, they will try their best to keep it as original.
Oh, that's awesome. So we know some of the top chefs out there have submitted their recipes. Can you talk a little bit about the recipe testing?
Yeah, so once it goes through that phase of going through the menu committee, it goes straight to the kitchen and they'll start cooking it. So they'll have taste testings. Well, they'll actually invite the student who submitted the recipe to come taste it to see, you know, if it tastes like the real recipe at home, make sure that it was done properly. So it's a really cool process, and it involves the students. You know, students come from all over the world, and they have so much different foods that remind them of home, and Syracuse is their home away from home. So I think it's a pretty awesome thing that they can come here and get those special recipes that remind them of their home.
Well, that's awesome that they have that event. And if students, you are interested in submitting a recipe, make sure to visit the Campus Dining Hall website at syracuse.edu/residential dining. The link to submit is under Recipes from Home.
And still to come here on Mornings on the Hill, something surprising happened on campus this week, and it's only happened a handful of times. Stay with us, that story and more just ahead.
Good morning, everyone. For those of you just waking up, this is what it looks like outside right now. It is feels like 27 degrees, so a little bit cooler than it actually is. 34 degrees is what it is outside. Tomorrow, we have some more snow coming above us and below us in Pulaski and Cortland. Only a 20% chance of snow, but here in Syracuse, a 60% chance of snow. So everyone, make sure you're preparing for that. If you are heading away from campus, make sure you're prepared to drive in the snow because there's going to be some snow. Looking back at the almanac, back in 1982, it was 65 degrees, a lot warmer than what we're seeing now. And in 1976, -8 degrees. So anyone not enjoying this cold, it could be a lot worse. And we're right in the middle for the averages too, right in the 30s, so nothing too crazy there. Here is a look at the 5-day forecast. We are very mild today and tomorrow, but we start to cool down on Friday and more snow will be coming. Saturday will warm up just slightly, but then Sunday we'll have no chance of snow and it's really going to start to warm up. So ironically, some of that snow is going to start melting, which is a big change from what we were experiencing earlier this week. And so that is what the weather is looking like for today. So it's going to be a nice warm weekend for everyone as we start to head into it.
And classes at SU were canceled on Monday for the snow. This was the 4th time in school history that there has been a snow day.
Students may have used this break from classes to catch up on work before finals, but other students decided to bear the cold and have a little fun. You can see in the video some students decided to sled down the hills around campus.
I mean, I've always wanted to sled down the campus. I don't know what you guys, you both are grad students, so you've never really been on campus for the snow before, but I saw people sledding and it's something I think I need to do before I graduate.
Exactly. You graduate in December, and I personally am a big sledder, but I haven't had a chance to sled here yet, and that looks a lot of fun. Maybe we should do it on Friday when we're getting snow?
Yep, we're gonna get some snow on Friday, but then you better do it now if you want to do it before you head home for break, because it is going to start to warm up, and when we get into the 40s, that's when things start to melt and we get muddy, and yeah, so get in the sleds and the ice skating and everything now, but it is winter and January will come and it's gonna cool right back down for everyone, so lots to expect there.
I'm sure we'll have plenty of weather for sledding, but that is going to do it for us this Wednesday here on Mornings on the Hill. I'm Michelle Knezovic. Make sure to follow us on social media.
And for the last time, I'm Shoshana Stahl. Thank you for watching our last episode this semester. Stay tuned next semester for a new team of Mornings on the Hill.